The thing that I wanted to start with was kind of the marketing pitch. That was actually harder than I expected, just to see what people got attracted to, what people didn't understand. That's something we're doing today, in fact. And then the decision between kind of buy versus build, like, do I actually want to build something that works end to end before I get feedback? No, right? You want to optimize for shipping something that something can see as soon as possible, right? Because, you're trying to validate your idea and you don't want to spend too much time because you're paying contractors out of pockets to actually build this with you. My name is Fredrik Björk. I'm the founder and CEO of Grafbase.
This is Code Story, a podcast bringing you interviews with tech visionaries.
Like 6 months moonlighting.
There's nothing at the back end.
Who share what it takes to change an industry.
I don't exactly know what to do next.
It took many goes to get right.
Who built the teams that have their back.
Our company is its people.
The teams help each other achieve. I was proud of our team.
Keeping scalability top of mind.
All that infrastructure was
Yes, we've been fighting it as we grow.
Total waste of time. The stories you don't read in the headlines.
It's not an easy thing to achieve,
Took it off the shelf and dusted it off and tried it again.
To ride the ups and downs of the startup life.
You need to really want it.
Not just about technology.
All this and more on Code Story. I'm your host, Noah Labhart. Today, how Fredrik Björk is giving you a way to combine your data to a centralized GraphQL endpoint. This episode is sponsored by NordProtect. In a world where data breaches are on the rise and identity theft is becoming more common, you have to take steps to protect yourself. NordProtect offers you everything you need to keep your identity safe, all in one easy place. It's built to help you safeguard your identity with advanced automation that works 24/7 on your behalf. Things like dark web monitoring, credit monitoring, security alerts, and more. And if the worst should occur, the platform walks alongside you for identity restoration. NordProtect plans come with financial coverage across a wide range of threats, from identity theft to online fraud and scams, so you are covered when it matters most. Get an exclusive 5% discount on NordProtect plans. Go to nordprotect.com/codestory and use the code CODESTORY at checkout. You can also find the link in the episode notes. That's nordprotect.com/codestory. This episode is sponsored by Incogni. Listen, guys, I don't know about you, but I get real tired of managing the spam and cold outreach to my contact info. Those annoying emails, phone calls from unknown numbers, wasting our time and valuable attention. Not to mention the bad stuff from data breaches, which are rising every year. To top it off, data brokers out there harvest our information and sell it to people who intend to spam you and scam you. So what do we do about it? Well, I use Incogni. I signed up to use the platform, and within 30 minutes, hundreds of requests had been sent and completed, removing my data from the public view. Incogni tracks down and removes your personal data from online directories, people search sites, and commercial databases. The process is fully automated for the hundreds of known data brokers who sell our data without consent. Got a site that they don't auto-hit? No problem. There's a custom removal feature to take down almost everything that is exposed online. So take it from me and take back your personal data with Incogni. Go to incogni.com/codestory and use code CODESTORY at checkout to get 60% off annual plans. You can also find the link in the episode description. That's incogni.com/codestory, because they can't harm you if they can't find you. Fredrik Björk is originally from Sweden, but has spent many years in San Francisco. He got started coding in BASIC on his Commodore 64, while also playing video games, of course. Post-graduating from RIT, he's been involved in many startups, like Avatars United and The Real Real. Outside of tech, he's a dad of 2 kids and likes to run, specifically marathons. Fredrik noticed that the patterns of development has changed towards outsourcing over building everything in-house. Fast forward to 2021, great services exist to empower developers to ship faster. Fredrik wanted to build a service like this for the API layer and below. This is the creation story of Grafbase.
I've always been looking for tools and services to make you ship faster, essentially, abstractions on top of cloud infrastructure, database, search, CI/CD, and anything that you have to rebuild over and over in every company you start. I always try to look for things that are not the core value of the company and kind of outsource that. And 20 years ago, most companies like to build in-house, but I would say the pattern the past decade is to try to outsource as much as possible. So when AWS came out, I immediately adopted it. It kind of just clicked for me. But then I also started looking for companies that made it easier to build on top. So when early on it was EngineYard, RightScale, and then when Heroku came out in 2008, that was really kind of instrumental and really changed the mindset to kind of empower more developers to ship, being empowered to ship to production, right? I think that's really, really powerful. And that's always been kind of a philosophy that I've had at companies, is to use tools that make you go faster, but also that you enjoy your day-to-day, right? The developer experience piece. So fast forward to 2021, then, you have great services like Netlify, Vercel, PlanetScale, and today Neon. And those are the companies that have built great platforms that have empowered developers to build magnificent kind of applications really fast and without worrying about a DevOps team or complicated CI/CD pipelines. And more importantly, they can ship faster than ever. I wanted to do something like that for the API layer and below. Didn't really find anything on the market that did this. I think the closest thing to what we are building is a service called AWS AppSync, which is a managed GraphQL service they have. The early days of Prisma, which was called GraphCool, had a similar feature. This was many years ago. But I always kind of liked that approach of like sticking to something that's really simple to adopt, simple to use with a good developer experience. But again, those GraphCool doesn't exist anymore. AppSync is AWS, so it doesn't have the greatest DX in my mind. So that's something I started prototyping. I built something in a few months. I showed it to a bunch of full stack mobile developers, and after leaving the real in late 2021 to build Grafbase. So what is Grafbase? I think the number one thing is we provide a fully managed GraphQL gateway deployed to the edge. And then the second thing is we offer an edge network. So it accelerates your API, but also existing data sources you might have, such as databases that are on-premise or APIs, third-party APIs that you don't control. So we want to unify them behind a GraphQL endpoint as well as make them go faster globally.
Let's dive into the MVP. So tell me about that first version of the product you built. How long did it take you to build, and what sort of tools did you use to bring it to life?
I was kind of sitting during COVID, as everyone else, in my garage brainstorming. And the MVP in my mind at the time was really a serverless database that with a GraphQL interface. I wanted something where a front-end developer could essentially build the whole back-end end-to-end. That's what I set out to do, and it took me about 2 to 3 months to build it. I got a front-end developer and a part-time designer to help me build kind of the dashboard. So we built a pretty simple Next.js app deployed to Vercel with Firebase. We kind of experimented with a bunch of different databases. I actually ended up using dgraph, which is also the graph database behind the scenes, just to get things going, and that was enough to kind of showcase it to people. And some people actually built some applications on top of the first version of Grafbase. This was almost 3 years ago.
Let's stay on that MVP for a minute. Tell me about some of the decisions and trade-offs you had to make when building that MVP. You're kind of touching on them at a high level, but dive into them for me about, maybe technical debt, technical choices, or approach, abstractions, limitations, all the things, right? Tell me about some of those decisions and trade-offs you had to work through and how you cope with them.
The thing that I wanted to start with was kind of the marketing pitch. That was actually harder than I expected, just like the landing page, like what is this thing? So I spent a great amount of time on that actually, and I tried to iterate on that before we built the dashboard and the product itself. That was a pretty good learning experience, just to see what people got attracted to, what people didn't understand. That's something we're doing today, in fact. So it's an ongoing thing, but that was a good learning experience. And then I think the decision between kind of buy versus build, like, do I actually want to build something that works end to end before I get feedback? No, right? You want to optimize for shipping something that something can see as soon as possible, right? Because, you're trying to validate your idea and you don't want to spend too much time because you're paying contractors out of pockets to actually build this with you. So that was kind of the trade-off, and a really good learning experience. Today we're 20 people, and I'm still trying to apply those first principles.
So you've got your MVP, it's working. How have you progressed the product from that point and matured it? And I think, to wrap that in a box a little bit, how did you go about building your roadmap? And how did you go about deciding, okay, this is the next most important thing to build with Grafbase?
First version we started building for production. So this was essentially after I decided 6 months or so, or maybe more, after the prototype was live and I got like a few hundred people to test it. I raised capital, started hiring people, right? So the first version that we started building, this was December 2021, was really more of a back-end as a service product, right? So think about Firebase or Superbase, and we wanted to make it really, really easy to build a stateful GraphQL API deployed to the edge. The first versions of Grafbase was serverless, and it was deployed to a single region, which is something that I wanted to offer to end users, because I think that's the way these days, is to offer usage-based pricing and also not have to worry about servers. But then, as I started thinking about the coming decade of APIs, there was this emerging technology called WebAssembly, which is both available on the browser as well as the server side. But I was focused on the server side, and I wanted to build something where the API is deployed close to the end user. Static content has seen this in the past 20 plus years with CDNs. You don't deploy a website today without a CDN. It's very rare, I would say. And I think the coming decade is also going to see that revolution for dynamic experiences, compute essentially through an edge network. So that's one of our big bets at Grafbase. So we deploy, every project has a GraphQL gateway that's deployed to the edge automatically for you. So you get a GraphQL endpoint that sits in 300 plus data centers within 5 seconds, essentially. For some businesses, it matters more than others, but for most companies, you have users in more than one region. So, user experience performance matters. But the second thing is, most APIs, databases are deployed to a single region. So it doesn't always help. But if you apply edge caching on top of that, then you can effectively make experiences go faster for everyone across the globe by deploying, a GraphQL gateway next to the user and then caching it using that same edge network.
Let's switch to team then. So how did you go about building your team? And what did you look for in those people to indicate that they were the winning horses to join you?
Well, what I did is first few hires I actually posted on Hacker News, who's hiring post. The thing we spelled out there was, people who know Rust, people who want to build for developers, and people who are remote first. So I think those three filters got really a good amount of really good people attracted to Grafbase. So we went from just me to I think 7 people in 3 weeks. And then we've been slowly kind of adding to the team over the past year and a half. Now we're 19 people today, all remote. So mostly throughout Europe, where we have a couple of people in the US, predominantly developers. We have 2 people doing the DevRel, 1 product manager, and then 2 designers. But the rest is mostly Rust backend devs and then 2 frontend devs.
So this will be interesting, given all the things we've talked about with Edge and how you're approaching this problem, and really just in general, I find this question interesting. Let's talk about scalability. So did you build this to scale efficiently from day one, or have you been finding this as you grow in any sort of capacity?
So a few things there. The number one thing is internally, everything we build is serverless. So we don't have any ongoing, always on costs. And then two, because it's serverless, it scales by nature. Like I mentioned before, we're deployed to Cloudflare. They're the world's most advanced and high-performance edge network. And the rest lives in AWS, which is also running on serverless services like Dynamo and Lambda. So from a scalability perspective and cost, we're really set up to handle anything.
Okay, so as you step out on the balcony and you look across all that you've built, what are you most proud of?
We just launched the public beta in April, so I'm kind of digesting that. But I would say I'm really proud of the local dev experience. That's something that we're continuously kind of working on. But the fact that you can, through one command, an NPX command, NPX Grafbase dev, you can get a production parity local development environment with a GraphQL API, a kind of GraphQL Explorer that we call Pathfinder, as well as a database and full text search. That's pretty magic. And I think going from that to actually deploying it to production within 10 seconds or less, using either the CLI or through a GitHub integration, that's magic. I mean, not just deploying to production, but production means deploy to the edge. So it's globally fast without you spending any effort on it. And it's just worth noting, it has branching built in. So each branch has a dedicated database as well as search and fronted by a GraphQL gateway. We've just really tried to feel that magic from your terminal to production. So having an idea or tweaking, adding, removing a field to your GraphQL API should be really, really low effort, and it should feel like magic. I'm really proud of that.
So let's flip the script a little bit. Tell me about a mistake you made and how you and your team responded to it.
After we launched, the private beta last year, we were essentially a backend as a service company. In my opinion, we still have that really magic feel where you can kind of stand up an API with the database and search and all of that kind of built in. But, you realize that it's really hard to sell it into bigger companies because they usually have a database they trust, they like. So that the data portion is a really tough challenge. So I think I wouldn't call it a mistake, but just an insight. So then based on that kind of feedback from customers when we talked, mid to larger size companies was that, I think we're going to accelerate the brownfield portion of Grafbase sooner than we expected. What we're much more focused on is to provide a unified data layer at the edge via GraphQL to talk to and connect with existing databases and APIs. And that's a much easier conversation to have. You might have a GraphQL API already, and we can provide edge caching for that, or analytics that you might not have, or just a better DX for local dev, or CI/CD, faster deploys. Like there's many pain points that people who have GraphQL in production can bring to the table, and we could solve for them. So I think that's been like the biggest repositioning of Grafbase since we started.
Okay, what does the future look like for the product and for your team?
We launched the public beta in April, and now we're working with our early customers, which is super rewarding. And now we're just want to try to scale that out and get Grafbase on the map and get into Fortune 500s. GraphQL is on the rise. Adoption is increasing every year. So we want to make sure that Grafbase is the best option to build and deploy GraphQL APIs. In order to do that, we've now shifted the focus from not just building to actually talking about what we're building. So we have an emphasis now on, in addition to just guides and change logs, which is what we've been doing all along, is also to do some blogging, and the whole company is doing that right now. We started doing that a few weeks ago. And even this podcast, trying to talk about what we've done, because we've done some pretty interesting and remarkable things that I'm sure a lot of people will want to hear about.
Okay, Fredrik, let's switch to you. Who influences the way that you work? Name a person or many persons or something you look up to, and why?
Most founders in general, I think, are really interesting to talk to about their learnings, where they failed, where they succeeded. And me living in San Francisco really has shaped the way I think and view the world, and especially when it comes to developer experience. Thankful to have investors of companies like, Vercel, Netlify, Datadog, who I've been fortunate enough to, have on my cap table, as well as who helped me shape Grafbase, and also helped with fundraising, blog posts, and just like sounding board for products, features, right? So I'd say most of the people who were part of my pre-seed for Grafbase have been people I look up to.
Okay, we talked about a mistake earlier, but this is a little different spin. If you could go back to the beginning, what would you do different? Or where would you consider taking a different approach? Could have been something that worked pretty well, but maybe you'd tweak it a little bit.
Definitely focus a lot more on fewer things and just really get to the bottom of what do customers want. What are they really looking for? What are their pain points? And solving for that. Really easy to get into this dream mode, which is good too. When you're inspired, you start to crank out things. And I have a lot of kind of parallel thoughts. That's just the way I operate. But just because you are 19 people doesn't mean you should be working on 19 things. So that's something we started doing early this year, is to be much more focused and build fewer things, but focus on them and do them better.
Fredrik, last question. So you're getting on a plane and you're sitting next to a young entrepreneur who's built the next big thing. They're jazzed about it. They can't wait to show it off to the world. Can't wait to show it to you right there on the plane. What advice do you give that person, having gone down this road a bit?
I think it's the most important thing is to have fun and to build it because you're passionate about it and you think it's going to change the world to a better place. And that's my number one advice. Have fun every day. Go to bed enjoying what you did and wake up looking forward to the next day of doing it. And remember, there's other things outside your startup. So try to take a break. And if you have a partner or a family, don't forget them.
Fantastic advice. Well, Fredrik, thank you for being on the show today, and thank you for telling the creation story of Grafbase.
Thanks so much. It's been super fun.
And this concludes another chapter of Code Story. Code Story is hosted and produced by Noah Labhart. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcasting app of your choice. And when you get a chance, leave us a review. Both things help us out tremendously. And thanks again for listening.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.